Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unboxed God, where we detox from religion and discover the God who refuses to fit inside the boxes we were given. I'm Tolu Sarah Johnson, and here we explore who God really is beyond fear, beyond formulas, and beyond everything we were taught to perform. If you're hungry for a real relationship with Him, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. So this is going to be a continuation of the current series of the parables, the 54 parables I'm teaching through. So this is still going to be in the theme of accepting, and this is the fifth parable in that theme, which is the laborers in the vineyard. That's the title of the parable, the laborers in the vineyard. And it's a continuation. Knowing accepting isn't only just saying yes, it's accepting God's way of rewarding. This is what this parable is all about. That yes, you've said yes. In dinner guests, Jesus confronted excuses that refused the call. In feast invitation, he confronted self-interest that only loves people who can repay. And in groom's attendance, he confronted old wineskin that can't carry newness. In humble guest, he confronted pride that tries to take a seat. Now, Jesus goes for something even more hidden. Even after you accept the invitation, you could still resent the generosity of the host. This is what this parable is all about. And before I dive deeper, let's try and read the Bible verse so that you understand what I mean by it is okay to say yes to accepting to God, but it is also important for you to accept God's way of rewarding. Because God is the one that knows what reward belongs to every one of us. And this is quite an interesting parable. So let's first of all read the Bible. The Bible verse is quite long. It's Matthew chapter 20, verse 1 to 16. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and send them into his vineyard. About 9 in the morning, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again about noon and about 3 in the afternoon and did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more, but each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "These who were hired last worked only 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "I'm not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I'm generous?" So The last will be the first, and the first will be the last. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That parable is so resounding and it's so relatable to me. I must say, boy, it's an interesting one. Wow. The parable is not mainly about work. It's about the eye, about the inner lens through which you interpret God. Because some people don't reject God out loud. They reject him silently through comparison. Yes, because Jesus says the kingdom is like a landowner hiring workers for his vineyard. That matters. The kingdom is not only a sanctuary to attend, it is a vineyard to join. So accepting here means I accept that my life is not idle. I'm called into partnership. We've all been called into the kingdom of God. But the owner of the vineyard has got a right to reward each person however it seems fit. And notice the mercy. The landowner keeps returning to the marketplace. He doesn't hire once. He keeps coming back, meaning God keeps calling. God never stops calling. You might have started your journey 10 years ago in this calling. Maybe you've got a ministry, you are an evangelist, and there's this brother that came after you 10 years after. So God keeps calling. Some were ready early. Some were found late. Some had been waiting unseen, overlooked, unpicked. But the landowner still asked them, why have you been standing here idle all day? And they answered, because no one hired us. That one line carries a lot of human pain. And I will tell you, this story is quite close to my heart because I can relate so well with it. For people that have been listening to me, they will have heard about my husband, Benjamin, who is now in heaven. Benjamin went home to be with the Lord 2023 at the age of 40. But he has been standing idle all day throughout his life, waiting to be hired. Each time he tried something new, never worked. So many attempts. He wanted to be hired. He put himself out there all the time. But what did he keep facing? Rejection. So a lot of people that you think they are idle from laziness. No. In this parable, it's clear. They were idle from rejection, from confusion, from delay, from wounding, or simply not knowing where they fit. Ben experienced almost everything. Experience rejection, experience confusion, experience delay. And he keeps asking God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Send me out there. I want to do something for you. I want to take care of my family. And God keeps disappointing him. He keeps going out. No one was willing to hire him. And when I mean that, I mean it metaphorically, even though it happens to him practically as well. But let's come back to this parable. No one was willing to hire him. But he never gave up. He tried and tried and tried until his last breath. Then got to heaven, and heaven was like, this was what we wanted you to do. We wanted you to come to the earth and suffer and go through all of this pain that you've done through so that we can shape you into who we want you to be in heaven. And before Ben passed away, Jesus used to speak to me through Ben, and he would be telling me so many things. I'm going to bless him. I'm going to do this. I'm like, Jesus, why is all your prophecies, all your messages are not coming to pass? Then when I was expecting it to come to pass, it passed and went home to be with the Lord. And I was confused in that moment. But even though Ben was waiting all of his life, Ben still told me in the last 1 week of him being on earth, he said, Tolu, I'm at peace with God because I have done everything he wanted me to do. To someone else, Ben would have been counted as a lazy person because they feel he was idle, but he wasn't lazy. He tried business, he tried everything. I know this man is not lazy, and God knew he was not lazy. And then got into heaven and was promoted. Just like that. As I'm speaking, Ben is living his destiny. He's living more like there's a Bible verse that Ben always quotes, more than you can ever ask or think. I hope I quote the Bible verse right. He's living a life that he never imagined. But everything that Jesus told me has come to pass in Ben's life and beyond. And God said, we made it like that. That was the life you were supposed to live. You were supposed to be my friend. Ben was really close to God while he was on earth. And God said, that was all I just wanted you to do. Just be my friend. Because I've got so many people that are performing for me. I've not got people that want to sit with me. And I just want you to sit with me. But what will a lot of people call that? Laziness. And I'm sure he never thought he would be living the life he's living now. And that Bible verse of the first shall be the last shall be the first, have been the story of Ben. Matthew, my co-author as well, has been rejected so many times. You want to preach on a big platform? No chance. He wants his YouTube channel to be popular? No chance. God hid him intentionally. So coming back to this story, the landowner responded with dignity. You also go. Not punishment, invitation. So this man that's been standing there, that people think he's been idle, but it's not been idle, but it's been rejected. The landowner is saying, yes, I know you've been rejected. I know you've been waiting for long, but I'm telling you also can go. I'm inviting you. And what happened? Evening comes. Wages were given. And Jesus deliberately made this story offensive. The landowner says, begin with the last. The last were first of all rewarded. The ones that came just 1 hour to the closing. Just like the way my husband has been rewarded now in heaven. Someone that was nobody knew him. Hidden. But was extremely close to God. And God was able to use his time on earth to prepare him for his role in heaven. So, they began with the last. That's what this parable said. So those hired at the 11th hour received a full day's wage. And the first worker who endured the heat, the burden, the long hours, assume we will receive more. Just like if I was to kind of, sorry, just give me a minute. If I was to try and explain that You know, when you look at Joyce Meyer's got a big ministry. Andrew Womack, Jesse Duplantis. There's so many of them that God has given big ministries. They've been working since in the heat, they've been toiling for God for so long. And the reward didn't start from them. And they gave the ones that people think they've been idle, even though they don't know the price they've paid behind the scene. They don't know how God has walked through them. Because the way we see things is different from the way God sees things. We see through the lens of people that show me. Can't you see what I'm doing? And God is saying, I am rewarding based on your heart, based on your destiny, based on your purpose, based on your call. Everyone's calling is different. But that doesn't mean that because you've got big platform, that doesn't mean that you've done better than the one that's been hidden all his life. So, I'm the first worker who endure the heat, the burden, the long hours, assume they will receive more. But they receive exactly what was agreed. And there comes the true revelation. The real issue is not unfairness. The issue is expectation. They weren't angry because they were cheated. They were angry because someone else was blessed beside them. Someone else was given the same quota that they were given. And they thought they deserved more because they've been toiling all day. This is the sickness Jesus is exposing. A heart that can't enjoy its own reward if someone else is honored too. And there's so many of that will happen in heaven. People that you think will be honored greater might not be. And that verse, the first shall be the last, is not there for nothing. Because it's actually playing out in heaven. And I'm sure a lot of people will have looked at Tiffany's life and they'll say, what does she deserve? When she was on earth, she was in witchcraft. Why will God be so close to her? Why will God allow her to even know him and be a special friend? Instead of you to focus on your own journey, instead of you to focus on the pathway that Papa's designed for you, you are looking at someone else and you are wondering why is that someone else honored too. That is the sickness in the church today. And I'm sure this is still the sickness in heaven because Christians, we think we know best. We think nobody else deserves more reward than us. That Muslim man that's been generous, has been loving, that's given out of insufficiency, but always been there. Generous, loving, kind. That person should be rewarded less than you because you were the one that said this sinner's prayer. Look at it. You know, we just need to look at it. Aren't we dumb? We are dumb. And that is what is playing out in heaven now. People that we think do not deserve God, they are far ahead. And until you stop comparing your journey, until you start looking, I don't compare my journey. I don't care about what A or what B or C is doing. I'm so focused, tunnel focused on what God has put before me. And that's all I care about. All I think about every day is how am I going to do the work that is ahead of me? Today, I had a goal. Yes, I thought I would have achieved the goal by now, but I'm just doing this video now, even though I would have loved to do it earlier in the day. But I've been busy. That is all I've been concerned about. I'm not concerned about that person's ministry. I'm not concerned about that person's wealth. And you need to stop comparing. You need to stop looking at someone else's reward and thinking they don't deserve it. Because the inner diagnosis is your high evil because I am God. The landowner says, friend, is your high evil because I am good. That sentence is surgical because it reveals a truth many believers avoid. You can obey God and still be offended by his kindness. You can serve and still secretly believe you deserve to be treated better than others. Yes. Do you know, just today, we do a daily conversation, almost daily conversation with heaven. Myself and my co-author, Matthew Robert Payne. If you want to watch what we do there, go to the channel Matthew Robert Payne. You will see a lot of his videos, and the link is usually on below my video as well. Paul said, Tolu, you might wonder, why has Ben, your husband, been so rewarded in heaven the way he's been rewarded? And you might be wondering why God has given you this calling that he has given you. And he said, but Tolu, we've all got our purpose. You might be thinking, why is Ben in that position? Why is it not me, Apostle Paul? But we've all got our callings. And each person has got their own journey. For the first time, I got it. Because for so long, I'm always asking God, why me? Why me? Why me? Why have you called me into this? And today, I was able to get a closure. Said, before you come to the heart, we've all got our destiny. We've all got our calling. And that person's calling might look a little before you, but to God, it's not little. To the one that's been given 10 talents, they will produce more than the one that's been given 1 talent. But that does not mean that because you have 10 talents, their 1 talent is not irrelevant. God doesn't judge that way. He does not reward that way. And how he rewards is up to him. You can't challenge the master because look at this fool. The masters gave them and they were challenging the master. Why did you give that person that only did an hour? It's his money. He can use it however he wants. He can distribute it however he wants. And you might be in heaven. And you might be challenging your reward. But I hope this message will help you to reorganize yourself and refocus on what is most important. And what is most important is your calling. And whatever reward you've been given, accept it with joy and gladness. Stop comparing what you have gotten with another person. Friend, is your high evil because I am good? And that's what Papa is saying now. Is your high evil because I am good? The fact that you are in heaven here, I am good. So you can obey God. And you're still offended by his kindness. You can serve and still secretly believe you deserve to be treated better than others. You can labor for years and still carry a spirit that says, I should be more recognized than them. I should be further than them. I should be rewarded more than them. And Jesus is saying, if you don't deal with your comparison, it will poison your ability to accept my goodness. And that's what everyone needs to deal with. If you're struggling with this, you need to sit in and deal with the poison before you affect the goodness that God has given you. No one knows what it is like to live like Ben. No one knows what it is like to be eating all your life, to try and try and try and try and try, and God keeps turning you down. Do you know the pain? I saw him. I knew what he went through. I knew the depression. I never knew he was carrying the suffering upon all of those things. He was carrying the pain of God. So, whatever God gave him, or is giving him, that is what he thinks he deserves. And whatever God has given you, that is what God thinks you deserve. So enjoy whatever has been given to you. And when we look at this parable, what does the denarius really represent? At one level, the denarius points to the gift of the kingdom itself, belonging, salvation, eternal life, things no human can earn. Which means whether you come early or late, you're still here by mercy. But at another level, this parable also reveals a pattern of how God moves. God is not only fair, God is free. He rewards in ways that breaks human maths. Yes, that I could not get it as well. When Ben said, Tolu, I am at peace with God. I'm like, I didn't tell him, but I was thinking, what have you done that makes you at peace? Because I've seen my husband that has failed so many times, and this man is telling me that he's at peace with God. And he was welcome home in a very beautiful way. Now I get it. Now I understand that even though what he has been given to him might not fit into the human math when you look at the reward he's been offered in or he's been given in heaven. But I leave that calculation to God. It's none of my business. And sometimes, especially in the last hours, seasons, he accelerates certain people quickly. And that's what Ben's life has been, acceleration. But before acceleration, there has been so many years of waiting. At least 20 years of waiting upon God. And then all of a sudden, go home and then accelerated at a very fast pace. Not because they are better, not because it's better, but because the hour has come. The hour is urgent. Now it's time for him now it's time for him to be active. It is time for him to do the work that he's been called to. Even though he's waited, this is the time. And that is why those people, even though it was only in the last 1 hour they were given something to do, and they've been waiting idle, that is their timing. That is how God has programmed it. Not because they are better. Not at all. So this parable is both comfort to the late comer and correction to the long timer. Because the long timers will find it difficult to believe that why would someone like Matthew Robert Payne get to heaven and be highly exalted? Because he cannot even get 10 people sometimes would not even view a video that is done. Nobody knows him. But it's well known in heaven. Wow. If we are able to live the supernatural that God has made available for us, we'll be able to understand a lot of the things of the kingdom that doesn't sound reasonable with our little brain, with our human brain, that we can compute it. We just have to follow the master. And who is the master? Papa. You know, let me give you this simple analogy. 2 children, 1 father. Imagine 2 children. One has been home all day helping. The other ran off, returned late, and the father still embraces them, feeds them, restores them. The first child says, "So my loyalty meant nothing." But the father replies, "Your loyalty gave you nearness all day. Their return gave me rescue. And my love is not measured by your comparison." Let's think about it again. Your loyalty gave you nearness. The ones that's been in the ministry for the past 30 years, for the past 20 years, when Matthew is waiting, when Ben is waiting, they were enjoying the gift of nearness. They were enjoying the fact that they were living their destiny. They have been accomplished. But you've got that one that's been waiting all of his years, and God is saying, "Your return gave me rescue." You might have been waiting, but now I'm rescuing you. And you still deserve the same reward that the one that's had nearness with me deserves. Because I know why you've been waiting. I know I have kept you waiting. You've been patient. You've been perseverance. You've been long suffering. Waiting. Waiting is the most hardest thing to do. It's easy to be jumping from one platform to another, getting the applause, knowing that you're doing something tangible for God. Do you know how frustrating it is to go back to at the end of the day and you've not done nothing? Do you know how frustrating it is for those ones that have been waiting just to be hired in the last 1 hour? They've been dejected, rejected, demoted. Everything that could happen to them has happened to them. They are depressed. They are saddened that they've been waiting all their years. And the master needs not, no one wants to hire them. So, Papa is saying, my love is not measured by your comparison. So stop comparing. This is a message for everyone. That you cannot measure God's love. We just have to leave that to Him. That is this parable. The Father doesn't love less because He loves another too. Yes, He doesn't love less. We are all loved equally, but we've all got different purposes, and we've all got different prices to pay, and we've all got different journeys. But we need to honor the journey, the pathway that's been carved to us. This parable tests a very specific kind of maturity. Can you accept God's generosity when it benefits someone you think should get less? Can you accept that God may lift a late worker quickly? Can you accept that God may lift Tiffany quickly more than you, that you thought you've been ahead, or more than you that you think you deserve God more than her? Can you accept it? That is a rewarder of the late worker, a person who wasted years, who drifted, who lived messy. They came in late, doesn't look qualified, doesn't sound polished, doesn't match religious expectations, and yet God used them powerfully. This is playing out in heaven now. And if that offends you, Jesus is not trying to shame you. He's trying to free you. Because jealousy is a cage. And comparison is a thief. It steals joy, gratitude, and love. So stop comparing. I used to have somebody that I knew in my life. I had to eject him out because of jealousy. He could not hide it. You get something, he must go get the same thing. Why? What kind of person is that? I don't want that person in my life. If you cannot be satisfied with who you are, with what God has given you. I am a widow and I'm satisfied with my cross. I'm satisfied with the calling. It was painful, but once I got the message, once I got the reason why God had to do that, I'm at peace with God's decision. And I will never challenge him for doing that because I understand better now. Many are called, few are chosen. Jesus ends with this. Many are called, but few are chosen. In the context, it's not about elitism, that the elite. It's about response. Many are called into the vineyard, but few become chosen. Because few accept the cost of staying faithful without entitlement. Do you know what it was like for Ben to stay faithful for all those years of waiting? The chosen are the ones who keep walking without needing applause. Yes, nobody can see you. That is the chosen. That you can keep walking without competing. Keep obeying without bargaining. Keep loving without calculating. They don't just accept the invitation. They accept the king's nature. They accept Papa's nature. And for people that living on earth, two dangers that this parable exposes is the danger of delay. Standing idle too long. If you feel you are late, the parable says it's not about too late. Go in now. Your life is not disqualified by the hour. And the second one is the danger of entitlement. Serving with a scoreboard. If you've served long and feel overlooked, the parable asks you, are you serving for love or for leverage? Because the moment you believe God owes you, you stop serving as son or daughter and start negotiating like a worker with a contract. So you just focus on your calling. Do not envy another person's calling. Just stay where God wants you to stay. Stay in your ministry. Continue to be faithful. Even though you're so hidden, if what God has called you for is just to be praying for that pastor, just continue. Continue doing it. For so many years, Jesus told me, Tolu, I just want you to serve Ben, my husband. That's what I did until I went to heaven, just serving him. And I was like, Jesus, is this all you've called me for? Say, yeah, yes, I get it now. So people in heaven, the parable matters in heaven too, because growth continues there. Responsibility increases there. And people will still be tempted to measure themselves. Why did they get promoted? Why are they trusted with more? Why are they close? Jesus' answer remains the same. My rewards are not your business. My goodness is not your threat. Your calling is your lane. So heaven is healthiest when love is pure and celebration is shared. So accepting the king means accepting his maths. You want me to say it again? Accepting the kingdom means accepting his maths. The fifth parable of accepting seals something essential. You don't just accept the invitation to the vineyard, you accept the goodness of the landowner, even when it disrupts the sense of fairness. So Jesus leaves you with a hard check. Can you rejoice that God is generous, even when his generosity lands on someone else? Because in the kingdom, the last can become first, the late can be lifted, and the measure is mercy. And those who are truly free will say, if the host is good, then I will rejoice, whether I was hired at dawn or at the last hour. So let that be the message you're taking away from this. Whether you've been employed at the last hour or you've been employed right from the beginning, stick to your journey, stick to the lane, stick to the calling, because the kingdom is not salary system. It's a father's house. It's run by generosity, not by competition. So Jesus knows what each person deserves, and that's why he ends with a shock statement: the last will be the first, and the first shall be the last. Not because God is the faithful, but because God refuses to let pride sit on the throne inside his workers. So I hope you've been blessed by this message, and I'll see you in the next parable. God bless.